Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk, where we discuss life, love, and the likes. So, again, I'm Keisha.
I'm Stacy.
And this week, we had put out asking you all, what would you like to hear us discuss? And we got some interesting DMs and emails. And one that kept resonating was relationships, purposeful dating, or preparing for marriage. So today we're going to talk about dating with a purpose. And what is dating with a purpose, Stacey?
In my opinion, I think it's very important to really establish where your relationship is going to go from the beginning. You know, a lot of times, especially women, don't necessarily require for a guy to even ask them out anymore, you know, and really state what this is. For me personally, and like we mentioned before, this is all our opinion and our experience. So definitely glean from what you can for your own circumstances. In my experience, when I was dating, I required the guy to ask me out. Not necessarily just on the first date, but okay, if you want me to be your girlfriend, then I need to hear that. Stacy, will you be my girlfriend? So that I can make provide a proper response to it. So I think starting from jump, letting people know what your standards are and your expectations of whatever this is, it's super important.
Okay, so I would agree with that in terms of just understanding where we are. I found in conversation with people that we've mentored and talked with, there isn't a clear understanding of what this thing is we're doing.
Yeah.
So we start off with, you know, friends, and then we talking, and now it's friends with benefits, and then it's, are we in a relationship or aren't we in a relationship? Are we still where we were? Are we exclusive? And so that's where I feel a lot of the misunderstandings come from, because one person is saying, well, we didn't start off like this.
Yes.
And so I would agree, establishing clear boundaries of what this is. I know similarly to you, I established from the beginning what this is. If we're moving to the next phase, I need to know. So I think we are also a bit old school. So I did want you to ask me, you know, you're gonna, you know, or at least tell me we move into the next phase. You know, you're my girl now,
right? And
then I want to know, what does it mean to be your girl? Because it could be, I'm your girl, but you everybody else's man.
Hello.
So I need to know, are we exclusive? These are the things that I did want to establish from the beginning.
So let's start from the meeting point, because I know some people are like, okay, y'all already going into asking out. Let's start from the meeting point. How does that look? Okay, a young man, a young woman, or whatever you choose to, you know, approach, or whomever you choose to approach, approaches you. Then what's the next thing that happens?
So they approach you, and I think what's important for young women is to know how to go on a date, like, and not automatically assume this is gonna be my man because we went on a date. And so I think it's going on a date to establish, do I even have a connection with this person?
Yes.
Do I even like who they are? How do they act when they're at a restaurant? You know, side note, I remember we were looking at some type of feed on Twitter, and they were saying things that made me leave a relationship before it got started. And it was, people didn't like how the person ate their food, how they behaved in the restaurant.
Right.
So things like that. I want to know how I interact with you. Can we hold a conversation? Do you make me laugh? So before we get to a relationship, let's see if we like each other.
The compatibility.
Right. Can we move forward in this courting or dating phase?
Right.
Okay. So that's my first. What would you say?
Yeah, I agree 100%. So after you've established, we're gonna, you know, do this as far as you are establishing a relationship. So you've established that this person is someone who you're pretty compatible with, you know, someone that you enjoy being in their company. The next step would be to obviously continue dating to really see it. But I would also warn people to really pay attention to these red flags. Not every red flag means that I'm throwing in the white towel and I'm leaving, but definitely pay attention to what the person says. When the person is frustrated, whether they're frustrated with you or with someone else. I heard it a long time ago. Someone was saying, pay attention to how a person is when they're upset, when they're angry, period. But also, more importantly, pay attention to how they treat you when they're upset at you. I'm the type of person, profanity, when you're upset with me,
it's a no-no.
It's a no-no. I don't want you cussing at me. And that's one thing that I liked about my husband. Although he isn't, a pastor, a worship leader, super saved, he established from jump, when we have a disagreement, we're not cursing at each other. And even when we talk regularly, I don't, now and then a little cuss word may slip. I'm talking about a casual conversation to emphasize a certain, thing I was saying. But, and he, uses profanity a little bit more than I do. But when we're talking conversation in our household, it's not, we don't have a cursing household, a profanity household. So that's something that we established from jump. We're not when we talk to each other, we're not cursing at each other. Right. Therefore, when we're hot and heated and maybe at 100, the first thing that's not gonna come out our mouth is something disrespectful, demeaning, and that will put you down. Right. So I think that's very important. The words, how you speak to people, and the words that you choose to talk to them.
Now, I've always heard, look at how they treat their mother. Or if it's not their mother, the woman that raised them.
Absolutely.
And that's how, in turn, they will treat you. So if you see they disrespectful to their mother, if you see they talk crazy to their sister.
Or if it's a woman, it's vice versa. Pay attention to whomever. How they treat the person that raised them, or the elder in their family. Yeah. Especially if it's same sex too now. You have to pay attention to that too.
So for me, I would agree. What I will say is, I think I was the opposite, Stacey, in the beginning. I was very argumentative, and I wanted to handle everything right on the spot, and that wasn't my husband's style. And again, I'm a very strong personality person, so he had to tell me, it's not how we about to do this. We're not about to be in the street going back and forth. We gonna handle this at home. And it was, my motto was, wherever you do it, that's where you get it. And then I had to realize, no, that looks bad for us. And so, again, even if that person has a quality that you kind of pick, is that person willing to work on it? Right. And so, if it's that person is willing to work on it, or it's, oh no, that's who I am and I'm gonna stay like this. Right. Those are the red flags Stacey's talking about.
Absolutely.
Because we all, like she said, we all have something that we definitely need to work on and mature, or areas we need to mature in, especially when we start off pretty young. So I would agree, establishing those red flags.
Let's talk a little bit more about red flags, because I don't want people to think that it's just, someone cursing at you. Hey, if that's your lifestyle and that's what you do, that's fine. But we want to talk more about the more serious ones also. Okay. If the person is abusive, either, verbally, they're putting you down. Mentally, messing with your mind, manipulating. Definitely, physically, financially, where they're, spending on you. So now you feel like, I have to stay in this, or I have to continue going because this person is doing for me financially.
Yes, so they're controlling you with the finances. And so, look, for me, that was big for me. I grew up in my younger years in an abusive home. And so I knew that was a definite no for me. And so I could recall my husband and I in our dating phase, I was kind of hot-headed, and we're in Home Depot, and this man said something to me, and I'm popping off on the man because I just want to establish. And my husband proceeded to move me, dating at the time, move me out the way to calm me down. I lost my mind. Oh, you touching me? I went crazy on the man. I called my mama. Oh, he putting his hands on me. And my mom's like, what? He literally had to explain to my mom what he did and why he was doing it. And later on, it wasn't that I realized he was trying to protect me, because I was being aggressive to a man. And he's saying, if this man goes to hit you, now I'm in it. So let me move you out the way and handle this. But at the time, I didn't see that. And so, again, we have to also think about how our background plays into how we see people, you know? And for me, I had to ask myself, was he really a threat to me in that moment? Was he angry with me? Was he trying to be really aggressive? I was in the aggressive state of mind. Mm-hmm. But because I was there, I automatically assumed that he was trying to be aggressive to me.
Right.
So those are areas we definitely need to consider as well, where we come from.
Yes.
And are we perceiving what the person is doing correctly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
mm-hmm.
I heard someone say it's some people were raised in a loving environment and some people were raised in a survival environment. And so when you're always trying to just survive, you don't recognize love a lot of times when you see it. And vice versa, the person that's raised with love, they don't understand why you're constantly moving and combative and all of these things, because you're just surviving. That thing touched me when I read it, because I was like, wow, it's true.
That's most certainly true. Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely.
So just establishing the person's intent, and are you reading their intentions appropriately when it comes to things about abuse? Because we don't want to say someone's being abusive,
right?
And they're not. It's how we are perceiving it.
Right.
But no, we're not saying if he punches you in your eye,
that's clear.
He's clearly abusive.
Yes.
If he shoving you around the house,
that's
it's
pretty
clearly
clear.
abusive.
Right.
If he's cussing you out, calling you all kind of MFs, B's, H's, that's abusive.
That's very clear.
And I'm not gonna say just he, because some women are abusive too.
Absolutely.
So we want to be clear on that.
So now, so we're in the beginning of the dating phases. We established what that looks like. Now we are definitely in a relationship, and the red flags, even when you are in a relationship, there are still some red flags that you need to look out for. So we established that. So let's say, now we're a year or 2 years down the line. At what point do we talk about marriage? When does that come into play?
For me, I clearly from the beginning knew that I wanted to eventually be married. But I think my situation was a little bit different. So I'll just say my husband also knew he wanted to be married. And so he didn't want to just date to date. So we were clearly already dating with a purpose. But what I would say is, if you know you're in a space in life where, I am either dating with a purpose now, or I am realizing that I'm ready, there needs to be a conversation had. Right now, I am ready to move to the next level. Where are you? So that you could establish where you are and where your partner is, and that way you guys are not moving in opposite directions where there's friction. Because sometimes we have to let certain relationships go because they're not moving where we want to go. So, but clearly defining what's next. I know my husband and I dated about 9 months before he proposed to me. So we clearly knew where we were going in the relationship. But it doesn't work like that always. So I think establishing where we're going, what we want, and if I'm now ready to be married, I need to say I'm ready to move to the next level.
Yeah, that conversation is definitely important, like she said. And it's unfortunate. You should try to have that conversation as soon as possible, but better sooner than later, because it's unfortunate that you're 4, 5, 10 years down later, and you realize, or the other person realized that this isn't really what I want. We were just in it because it was something to do, or out of habit, you know. Or now you have kids in the mix, and things get a little convoluted even that way. So it's important to definitely have that conversation, understand what you want very early. I'm a very straightforward person when it comes to anything that deals with my space, my life, and things like that. I want to make sure that everyone is clear. So I was very open with my husband, and obviously he was with me, that, I wanted marriage. I've never been the type to just date to date. And I'm not talking about dating, like going on, dinner dates, but actually that courtship in the Christian or church world. I'm not the type that will just give somebody my time, and my effort for it just to not go anywhere. So that's very important, that the person also knows what type of individual you are. If you're not with wasting the time, you ain't the one to be played with, then that needs to be established early, not with attitude, with love and humility, but definitely make it very clear to the individual that I don't have any time to waste, and therefore this is what I'm seeking when it comes to relationship.
Okay, so I pose a question.
Mm-hmm.
What if one person is there and the other person is not?
Mm-hmm.
What next?
You have a very difficult problem situation on your hands. You have to make a very tough decision. You know, I believe in ultimatums myself. I'm married today because of an ultimatum.
Okay.
You know, it is what it is. And we may think of ultimatums as something very negative. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, you know, or a lot of men I've heard, oh no, if my girl give me an ultimatum, I'm through, I'm done, X, Y, and Z. But guess what? As a woman, you need to advocate for yourself. That's what an ultimatum is. I either want this or this is going to happen. That's strengthening you. That's empowering you. That's making sure that your voice is heard. So if you're not pleased with something, or if you need something to shift, make a move, then you need to be able to express that to the one who so-called loves you. And obviously the person will know you enough to really, if they truly love you, they will take that into consideration. And guess what? My husband beckoned to the call.
So what does giving an ultimatum look like for someone who's there and they're saying, okay, this sounds really good, but what does it look like? Because some people, you know, like you said, it's the way you say it, it's how you say it. Give me an example of what that would look like if I'm in a relationship for a male or a woman and I want to establish a clear ultimatum of this is where I want to be. What does that look like?
Well, definitely, you know, don't say it in anger, because like I said, it is empowering you. So the ball is in your court, whoever you are, lady, gentleman, whomever. And therefore, that automatically eliminates a lot of the emotion behind it. The anger, the frustration, whatever, the disappointment, that eliminates a lot of it. Not to say that you won't have some emotions, because this is a very difficult and tough situation, conversation that you have to have with someone who presumably you love. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I would just basically say, you know, listen, we've been together for 9 months, for a year, for 10 years, for 7.5, whatever the case may be. And I'm at the point where, and mind you, side note, I would assume that you all would have been talking about the next steps, that, you know, you would know where this person stands with, you know, if they feel like marriage is something that they want. I would assume that conversation would have already taken place before you present an ultimatum. If not, that would be the first thing you need to do. Ask the person, where do we stand? Where do you see this relationship, X, Y, and Z? Because by then, you'll be able to really process everything and really be able to, you know, put your words and things together. So yeah, listen, you know, we've been together for, let's say, 5 years. And at this point, I'm really looking for marriage. I know that 6 months ago or 3 months ago when we had the conversation last, that's not where you were at the time. At this point in my life, you know, I would have to, you know, give you until the end of the year to make that decision, or I'm going to have to move on, because I really need, my intentions for coming into this relationship was to be married at some point. It's been 7 years now, and we're still at square 2, 3, 4, or wherever, and this is not where I want my life to be. So by December 31st, the strike of midnight, if I'm not proposed to, if I don't have a ring, if I'm not engaged at that point, January 1st, I'm going to have to part ways.
So it sounds to me that, and I just want to make sure I understand so that everyone else understands, you didn't do this in an argument.
No.
You didn't do this when you were upset. Mm-mm. This is you clearly defining what you want, giving an date, what it should be done by, and meaning what you say, and allowing that person to know, I love you, I want to be with you, but I'm also ready for the next phase. And if I'm not ready, if you're not ready, it might mean we need to part ways at this time. So it's no anger, it's no backing forward. I think people are able to receive that better, because you're not actually like, you coming at me in an aggressive manner and an aggressive tone.
Absolutely. And it's setting boundaries for yourself. Everyone in your life should have some form of boundaries. I don't care if it's your children, your parents, your spouse, even, your boss, your coworkers, whomever, anyone that you encounter with, you should have boundaries for them. Of course, depending on the level of relationship, the boundaries may be, you can move it around a little bit, but that's part of protecting yourself.
Yes.
That's part of advocating for yourself. That's part of preservation. Thank you. That's part of self-care. So it's important to set those boundaries. And I like what you said, definitely set a date. And you're saying it with love. You're still showing the person that you love them, that you care for them. However, I have to love myself first.
Yes.
I have to love myself first, and therefore by this certain date, if you cannot come on board, and it's not forcing anyone. If the guy feels forced to do it, then it's probably best that you part ways. Because the person shouldn't feel forced to do it. This should show them that, wow. And this is what happened to why my husband did it. He was like, I could not risk losing you.
That right there is a word. Because he knew the value that he had in you. And so that's the thing. The person needs to know the value that they see in you.
Absolutely.
The value.
But the only way that they can see it in you is because you see it in yourself first.
Yes. And that person, one thing I've learned from men, they know who's wife material.
For them.
And sometimes as women, we kind of know who we want to be with, but I think men kind of know off rip or from the beginning if they want to proceed and move on. And so now we've established that we're in a full-fledged relationship. We've been in this relationship 9 months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever the time frame you are comfortable with. Now we're moving into being engaged. Let me back up a little bit. What does it look like when you're in a relationship with someone? Because I don't know if we established that. How do you know? Like sometimes in our minds, we think this person is really ready and wanting to be that spouse for us, and they're not. Do you think there is something like old people say, oh, I'm giving up, like I'm dating you and I'm already acting like your wife. How do we balance that out? Because I want you to see that I'm wife material, but I also don't want to be acting like your wife all the way yet. So how do we balance that out? Because I was having a conversation with my own daughter who is of age, and I'm saying, you have to have a balance. She was talking about a particular situation and she grown, so I'm not going to put her business there. But I was saying, but you're not his wife. So although you're in a relationship with him and it's a serious relationship, you have to remember that there are some privileges that are girlfriend privileges and some privileges that are wife privileges. And so I think sometimes the line is blurred nowadays because I've been with him for 4 years. We aren't engaged. Now I live with him. And so do we need to be setting a boundary? Is there something to say that we're giving too much privilege? Like what is that? Because that is right there in that messy blurredness of next step. Am I married? I'm not married, but I'm acting like I'm married. Like what is that?
Ooh, child. Yeah, that's a loaded question.
And maybe it's too loaded.
I'll just speak for myself. Because I've learned through the years that I have to protect myself. When I say protect, it's like Wendy Williams. She says that we all have like a little pink box. We as women, you can be very strong and guarded and very fierce and, very assertive and all of those great things, but we still have that soft, mushy side of us. Definitely. So when I speak, please don't think that I'm just so hard. I'm a rock. I'm not. I'm still human. I still have, some things. But I've just learned over the years, especially I'm coming into my 40s, just knocking at the back door. Listen, it's actually opening the door for me. It's just waiting for me to walk in, honestly. I've just learned that it's very important to protect my heart. The Bible says it. It says guard your heart.
It does.
And I know for me, I don't necessarily believe in moving in with someone. Listen, I lived with my parents from birth to the day I got married. I was engaged in all and starting to like pack my stuff and everything. And my mom was like, "Oh, when are you going to move in with him?" I'm like, "When I get married." So that's just who I am. You know, I'm not saying that's for you, whatever. That's not for you. But for me, I'm not going to live with you. I already set that boundary. I never traveled with my husband when we were dating, believe it or not. I just won't do that. I'll only travel with my husband. So I didn't travel with him. That was another boundary that I set. Sometimes us as women, we could do a lot for men because we love them, or because you want to prove something, or because you see that they may be weak in an area. But I learned, you know, from previous relationship, I'm not going to do all that for no man. You're going to have to be a man and figure things out. Now, I may be able to direct you, to assist you, to talk to you, to remind you, but you need to know how to pay your own bills. You need to actually pay your own bills, because sometimes women get into that mode. Oh, let me go ahead and pay this bill for him, and let me go ahead and do that for no. I don't mind you cooking every now and then for him, just so he knows that you know how to, he tastes your food and he knows you know how to season food, you know how to prepare food well. So you're giving him little hints that you can be a wife. You know, if he comes over to your home, wherever you live, whether by yourself or with your family, if you allow people into your bedroom, he can see, okay, she has a clean home, a clean space or whatever. So you're still giving him signs and ways to show him that you will be a good wife.
Okay, so I love your answer, and I'm going to tell you what I got from that, and it is when you get into, and this is me adding my own opinion in there as well. When you get into that phase where you're living with someone, the lines become very blurred. And so it's very difficult to set those boundaries to saying, this is what I want, this is what I need, because now you guys are so invested together. So I believe that it's very important that we set clear boundaries of what you want from the beginning. Even if you're already in that space where you're living with someone, where you guys are already invested, please know that you can still set an expectation to say, I might have to move back home. I might have to get my own. I might have to go live at my friend. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is what I want in my relationship. And so I wanted to touch on that a little bit, because some people are in that. A lot of people are in that situation, because today people are not as old school as they used to be, in terms of like, oh, I'm gonna stay home until I'm married to move out. Now people say, oh no, I want to get to know him or get to know her living together, so I can see if I like it, and I can see if I don't. And I think you're never gonna like nothing 100% about. Not somebody, at all. You know. But moving back, now we've established, okay, we can establish an ultimatum. We established our boundaries. Okay, now we're engaged. He either proposed to you or she either proposed to you on your own, and we're engaged now. What is the next step? What are we doing? And I know everybody goes to think about the wedding. Now let's start preparing the wedding. But I think outside of preparing for the wedding, you have to start preparing yourself mentally. Eventually, I'm about to move in with this person, so now
if we don't
already live together, so we have to establish, like, how are we doing our finances conversation. And for me, that is where, whether premarital counseling, whether it's with your church, whether it's with a therapist, a relationship expert coach, you know, a pastor, whatever it is. But I believe in premarital counseling to establish general guidelines for your marriage. Everyone's marriage is going to look different, but you need to know. You need to have a conversation about children and raising children, you know. And if you're coming in with children, you need to have a conversation about that. You need to have a conversation about, what are your expectations? I know for me, in my brain, I didn't grow up with a father figure in the home. So, you know, Bill Cosby, the Huxtables, that's what I thought it was. Between the Huxtables and my cousin's parents were like the ideal of what I thought life would be. Never establishing that, you know, this is two different people, and it's not going to work like that.
But also, that was like 30 years. You're seeing 30 years worth of marriage.
It's true.
Right.
But I expected it.
Right.
And so, we talked about who is taking out the garbage and who should be cooking and washing and these things that, normally we just assume that's a woman's job. My husband can cook. So we are different in where he might cook more times than I might cook. So that's something we established early on that he knew how to do. But the biggest one is working on like our finances, credit, where we gonna live, how we gonna live, how we raising our children, what do we expect to happen? Do you expect me to be the one to always deal with the kids all the time? All of these things are discussed beforehand,
It
right?
matters, yeah.
And we went through a little book. So even the things we didn't think about, the book had it. And it helped us to have a conversation about where we wanted to go. Now, please don't think I'm saying everything was mapped out and it worked out beautifully like that.
Right.
No. But I'm saying we had a conversation about it, and we were able to establish some general guidelines, so we had some understanding.
And it's great because even if you haven't established those things, it gives you some things to really think about and to have those conversations in the future before the actual marriage. So you can see where we're a little weak in and try to strengthen some of those areas so that you can go into the marriage a little bit more prepared than you could have. A little bit more prepared, because you're never going to be 100% prepared, but at least you know where you both stand.
Right.
Now, when it comes to engagement, my belief was, don't propose to me if you ain't ready to marry me like tomorrow. I was married within 6 months of engagement because I just felt like, okay, if you're going to propose to me, then I need you to be ready to marry me. That means you have to have the finances ready. You have to, and obviously we had to have discussed all of those things previously or within that engagement period, and be ready to go. I'm not down for no 2, 3, 4, 5 year engagement. Oh, this is a hush ring and all that. That ain't my stilo. But you have to be ready to marry me.
I was engaged a little longer, so I got the ring faster. But I was engaged. I think it was almost 2 years. Now I might say that during that time frame, we had a lot of life-changing events that happened. I had a brother who was killed. I had some things. And in that time and in that season, it really allowed me to see the person I was marrying.
Right.
And so for me, I am grateful for that time because I could see how you handled me.
Right.
I could see how you handled my family. I could see the relationship you established with all of us. And so that was important for me. And I thank God for that season because it really established, this is a really good dude.
Okay, so we have the ring. Hopefully we've had premarital counseling. Obviously you've established possibly a date. Remember, even with that date, be open to maybe moving it a little bit further if needed because of other things that you all have to work on.
Right.
But definitely try to work on yourself as an individual, and the other person can work on themselves as an individual, whether they, receive individual counseling, mentorship from other couples. That's also important. You involving yourself in that person's family and they involve themselves in your family so that you can sort of see how that dynamic is. That's also important. But I would say number one, first and foremost is listen to your intuition.
Yes.
Listen to that inner being, that, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, your conscience, whatever you want to call it. Definitely listen to it because it speaks to us and it never lies. It never leads us astray. I asked myself, I was like, am I really supposed to marry him? And I really dug deep and I was very serious to let it go. And this was after engagement. I would say probably ask yourself that prior to engagement, prior to you even having set an ultimatum and, in between possibly that conversation of where we're going and an ultimatum. Ask yourself and really be in silence, pay attention to it, listen for that voice as it speaks to you, and you will know that is true. or what the response from the peace that it gives you. So you should find a sense of peace with the answer. Now you may be anxious because now you have to, possibly tell this person. Yeah, it's a life-changing situation, but the answer should come to you in a peaceful way. Yeah. So definitely listen to your intuition and follow it.
And I would say, for the most part, listen to your mama. I knew for me, my mama was a praying mother, and so she would say, oh, I prayed, and if they ain't supposed to be here, the Lord gonna remove them. And I didn't understand it back in the day, but now I completely understand it. And he survived, and he is here. And when my mom was comfortable with letting me go, I knew, okay, this guy is good, because she was comfortable. When she said, oh, I don't worry about you because I know he got you. That was comfort to me. And so, including, in addition to doing what Stacey said, realizing for myself, I also listened to my family. Yes. So those things together gave me a greater sense of peace about it, and I was okay. And so
now, if you don't have a praying mother or a mama who's not a hater, because sometimes if you he felt that one, right?
I felt it in my spirit.
Right. I would say go to a trusted individual, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a pastor, if you're a man to man or woman to woman, we're going to keep it, safe. Same gender person, someone who you respect, maybe someone who's living a life and trust, someone who's living a life according to how you see yourself to live. But go out, venture out, and definitely talk to your friends, because they know you, they know your attitude, they know, all of these different parts of you. But definitely, like she said, seek outside opinion. Seek the Lord, if you're Christian, seek yourself, and seek outside opinion.
Yes. And ultimately, that brings you to the day of marriage, right? And so now you're here. You've done all you can to prepare yourself. And what I will say is this. Know that even once you do all of the preparing, you're still never prepared enough, because you're moving into a different phase of your life. It's two people coming together, becoming one. And that becoming one doesn't happen easily.
It's a war becoming one.
There may be some friction there, but if that person is worth it, be okay with going to counseling. Be okay with seeking, like having a mentor couple. I have one. Be okay with going, if you know your pastor is able to coach you guys to be okay finding relationship experts to assist. Whatever it may be, don't suffer in silence. I remember T.D. Jakes said one time, don't come to me when the house on fire. Come to me when you start to smell smoke, so that we can deal with, because now the house on fire and I'm trying to put all these different fires out. When you initially started smelling smoke, you can come. And so for me, that is what it is. My advice would be not to worry too much about what other people say, because other people will talk anyway, right? So don't worry about that. Fix what's happening in your home and then go from there, because marriage can be a beautiful thing. But I'm not a person to tell you that it doesn't take work to get it.
Oh yeah. It's a rose out of, rose out of the concrete. So it's going to take some work, but it can bloom into a beautiful rose. So we'll talk more about marriage, in another, because we're at the wedding day. Right. So we'll talk a little bit more about marriage in another video. That depends on your comments and you are responding and engaging with us. So if you like our content, and you want to continue to hear us give our opinions and our experience, please comment below. Comment on our Instagram, which is at Let's Talk La Vie, LetsTalkLavie. Definitely reach out to us.
And we look forward to hearing from you. So we thank you again.
Oh no, the next video will actually be a live one.
Yes.
Or pre-recorded.
So if you are interested, we are looking for ladies who are single, ladies or men who are single, interested in talking to us about dating in the 21st century, because we want to cover all aspects. Please inbox us, send us a message, email us. We're at, as she said, Let's Talk La Vie gmail.com.
Yes.
So send us an email letting us know. We need about 6 or 7 people or so that we can do either we're going live or pre-recorded.
Right.
And we will talk to you guys about dating in the 21st century. So we look forward to your excitement. I'm excited about that.
Yes.
We need to learn, honey.
Right.
So reach out to us. But again, as Stacey always says, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page. Definitely follow us on Instagram. Leave comments. Let us know what you're thinking. We want to engage with you. And we will see you next time from Let's Talk.